Hello class, I hope everyone is comfortable. My name is Cademan David, or as time travelers call me, Mr. Cow. Welcome to my eccentric academy. I'll be your teacher for all things science fiction. Today we are looking at the Star Trek Voyager episode, Time and Again. So turn your books to that very episode and we'll dive right in. You know, every once in a while, there's an episode that I really feel I struggle to find things to talk about. This is one of those episodes. I just really have nothing to say about it, really. Which I suppose is appropriate because this episode never happened. This episode isn't even real. Basically, what I'm saying is that in the canon of Star Trek, this episode technically does not take place, which begs the question, what's the point of the episode? Now, this episode starts off with Tom and Perry kind of bantering, Tom Paris trying to get Harry to go on something of a double date with him.
I told you, I need to run a translator diagnostic.
You need to run a self-diagnostic. Look, they come as a pair. It's a double date or no date.
This episode just made me think I kind of wish that they would have taken more time to develop the Tom and Harry relationship instead of just saying, okay, now after the pilot, they're best friends already. I wish they would have handled it more like Bashir and O'Brien in Deep Space Nine. With that being said, I do love the friendship of Harry and Tom Paris. Now, I also think this episode kind of shows just how weak Voyager tended to be starting off. There's not much to talk about this episode, and this is gonna seem crazy, but I kind of think that the best part of this episode actually involves Kes and Neelix. As I've talked about in my previous reviews, I'm not a big fan of Kes and Neelix. I find them to be mostly annoying. However, in this episode they get a scene with one of the best characters, the Doctor, and it's interesting seeing how he hasn't been filled in, that the Maquis is also part of the crew now. And this is sort of an important moment for the Doctor because this shows how he's used as more of a tool and less of a member of the crew in these earlier episodes, and it actually points to his story arc of having to work to be treated like an actual member of the crew. So that was cool. The rest of this episode doesn't have a lot to offer. Also in this episode, the Doctor has this line where he seems to think he's in my favorite Doctor Who Christmas special.
She's missing on the surface of a planet.
Missing. The captain is missing. It seems I found myself on the voyage of the damned.
Which I guess makes sense, because he's called the Doctor. The bulk of this episode follows Janeway and Tom Paris as they go back in time the day before a explosion goes off on this planet, killing everyone on it. And I feel like the episode wants to be kind of deep. It wants to sort of be an interesting look at the question of if you knew something bad was going to happen tomorrow that's going to kill a lot of people, what would you do about it? Would you say anything? And that's an interesting concept, but that's not what this episode is. This episode is just something like a nothing sandwich. It's a piece of nothing with nothing on top of it, and in between mostly nothing. Again, this is appropriate because at the end of the episode, it never happens. And this is something that happens a lot in Star Trek, it happens a lot in Doctor Who, and I really wish TV shows would just stop doing it. I don't like it. It makes the entirety of the show feel like when Arrow or Flash had tie-in comics, and basically the tie-in comic policy was that the comics are canon until the show says we want to use this stuff from the comic book, so those are no longer canon. And it's like, well, what's the point if they're no longer canon? This episode also has the most annoying sort of time paradox, where it's very contradictory. Janeway says that them being there ends up being what causes the explosion to happen when it does, and that's also what allows her to actually step in and be able to stop the explosion. But this doesn't make any sense. If she is the reason that the explosion happened, then her being there, she shouldn't be able to also stop the explosion by being there. It's a little gripe, but these sort of time paradoxes are really kind of annoying to me. And this episode, I think, is one of the worst examples of that I've seen. So, with that being said, I want to give a special shout out to Kess's costume here. I think it's pretty cool with the spider web type pattern in her chest area. I thought that costume was pretty cool. And that's really all I have to say about this episode. At the end of the day, it's just pointless. It only has a little nugget of furthering the Doctor's story, but the rest of it is a pointless time travel episode that never happened in the context of the show. At the end of the day, I feel like there's no point in even reviewing it. This video is pointless. Wait a minute. That gives me an idea. Or as time travelers call me, Mr. Cow. Hold up 1 second. Hello? What? Oh, okay. You're me from the future? Okay. Oh, okay. Alright, guys. Sorry about that, but, I just heard from me from the future that this entire review is actually pointless because the episode didn't happen. It's not actually real, so, I guess that's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. Hit subscribe, and live long and prosper. Class dismissed. I don't know what to say, but future me says the episode is pointless. So, farewell. I don't know what I'm doing. According to my skeleton sense, in an alternate universe there was actually a review that happened. Isn't that interesting, Hans? Thank goodness it did not happen in this universe. And today we are looking at the